I'm the recipient of the Rickard Scholarship. I'm the recipient of the Rickard Scholarship. I'm very grateful for the scholarship as it allows me to really focus on my PhD studies, as you only get one chance at doing a PhD. During my undergrad, one of my lecturers told me that research or conferences or sharing your research was basically an intellectual battleground, that will be an exchange of ideas as well as a lot of collaborations, but it'll also be being able to answer the questions that people have about your research. I did my undergraduate at Griffith University on the Gold Coast, majoring in biomedical science. And then after my honours, I did summer scholar here in RSC in the same group and decided to stay on for PhD. I chose to do a PhD because of my honours, which was a really eye-opening experience in terms of what research would be like and could be like for me. My current PhD focuses on a really similar topic to what I did in my honours, which is working out or trying to figure out the mechanisms underlying neurodegenerative diseases in terms of protein aggregation. And after my honours, I was really curious about other aspects in the field, so I decided to pursue a PhD. So during my summer scholarship, I was under a really passionate supervisor, and it really showed me what kind of researcher I could be like, and he was a role model to me. So I stayed on to do PhD at ANU, but also the RSC, the people were really lovely and the facilities here were amazing, so I chose ANU. I chose my supervisor because of the field that I was in. So during my honours, I was in protein aggregation and misfolding in a cell-based laboratory, but I chose this field because it was the same field. Also, my supervisor, who's the director of the RSC at the moment, Professor John Carver, is one of the leaders in the field, and I wanted to do my PhD studies with him. Another really important thing is the method of supervision, which is different for all supervisors. But I think that John's supervisory method is really suitable for someone like me. I'm very grateful that I'm actually in this laboratory. In terms of the project, the first project was actually my first PhD project, is a continuation of my summer research scholarship. And the techniques that we use are very similar to the ones that I did in my honours. So that was not that much of a challenging transition from honours to PhD. But the other two projects that I'm currently working on are of John's expertise, and we're working on other research or previous research that John and John's lab members have done. Activities that's promoted around the school is that the RSC actually allows PhD students to do a bit of training, gain experience, as well as gain a bit of money by helping out around the school. So I'm currently doing some work in the mass spectrometry unit, and I'm very grateful for that because a lot of my first PhD project depends heavily on mass spec. So it doesn't actually involve that much work. We just look after the instruments for a little bit. That's around probably maximum half an hour or 1 hour a week, and it really helps you get used to the instruments that you're going to be working with. Really aiming for a postdoctoral fellowship or postdoctoral experience for hopefully around 2 years, and then we'll get my own fellowship, and ultimately I would like to become an independent researcher and have my own group. 100% sure that this was the right decision to do a PhD, especially here at RSC as well. For me, it leads me closer to becoming an independent researcher, which is my ultimate goal. Definitely choose whether you want to do a PhD or not before you start a PhD, because you only get one chance at doing your PhD, so you want to make sure that that's the right decision. Advice that I have for people that want to start a PhD is firstly, do some research projects. If you're doing a science undergraduate degree, you should be able to take courses that are research project based. So I did one during my final year of undergraduate, and then I did my honours, and then I also did a research scholar or summer scholarship at ANU before I made the decision to go into a PhD. Other advice that I have is to make sure that you can or you're able to put the hard work in in your PhD. Another advice is to make sure that you look for which supervisor you want to do and make sure that you're interested in the field before you start. I chose to do a PhD because of the fact that it's intellectually stimulating. So during my undergrad, one of my lecturers told me that research or conferences or sharing your research was basically an intellectual battleground, that will be an exchange of ideas as well as a lot of collaborations, but it'll also be being able to answer the questions that people have about your research. Obviously, other reasons that I did a PhD was because of my curiosity in the field, and the field is really interesting for me because we look at proteins, protein misfolding and aggregation, which are strongly linked to neurodegenerative disorders such as Parkinson's, dementia with Lewy bodies, which are quiet, debilitating diseases with dramatic societal impacts. And understanding the mechanism behind those diseases would ultimately help a lot of people. So I'm the recipient of the Rickard Scholarship, and Professor Rickard is one of the most influential Australian scientists and also is strongly associated with the Research School of Chemistry. I'm very grateful for the scholarship as it allows me to really focus on my PhD studies, as you only get one chance at doing PhD. And it'll also help me, it reduces the financial strain in terms of after PhD, where I'll be looking for postdoctoral experience and off my scholarship. It was a good relationship, a supervisor-student relationship to have. No, is it possible to start again? Sorry, I was like, I don't know what to say about John.
You're doing good.
I don't know.
Why?
However, with my second project and my other projects, that was completely new for me. But sorry. Sorry, this is so bad. What was I going to say? For a postdoctoral fellowship or postdoctoral experience for hopefully around 2 years. And then we'll get my own fellowship, and ultimately I would like to become an independent researcher and have my own group. Oh, so short again. Oh my